Welcome to the November 16th, 2020 meeting of the Glendale Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. Due to the evolving situation with the COVID-19 novel coronavirus and health recommendations from the LA County Health Department, the Glendale Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting will be available to the public electronically. Due to social distancing requirements, the public will not be able to attend the meeting. The public is encouraged to watch and participate from the safety of their homes, practice social distancing. The meeting can be viewed on local cable, Charter Cable Channel 6, and AT&T Uverse Channel 99, or streaming online at https://www.glendale.ca.gov/government/public-meeting-portal. For public comments and questions during the meeting, you can call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting these questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person during the Glendale Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting. May we have the roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioners Everly?
Here.
Alfayan?
Yes.
Is absent? Oh, he's here. Okay. Sardar Begian?
Present.
Patel?
Here.
And President Wolfson.
Here.
Thank you. The agenda for the November 16, 2020 regular meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before November 13, 2020. Item 2, introductions and presentations at A, recognition of outgoing Commissioner Grant Michaels.
Okay. I have a plaque here that is for Commissioner Michaels. I'm holding it up so everyone can see it. Ordinarily, if Commissioner Michaels were here, we could present this to him in person, but I'll go ahead and read what it says on the plaque. It says, "The City of Glendale recognizes Grant Michaels with gratitude for your years of outstanding service to the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission, July 2015 to October 2020. And I want to personally recognize Grant. I consider Grant a friend. We have participated together in at least one other organization. I've seen him around town at a lot of events. I know he is a very involved and giving and caring member of this community, and it's been an honor to serve with him on the commission. And with that, I'm going to open it up for comments from anybody else.
It was my pleasure also for last 4 years to work with you and even learn from you. You care so much for this city and you are involved in every action that you could attend. And I was very impressed. I hope I can follow your footsteps. We will miss you here.
I just like to add to what else is said. I never go to an event in town when the kids' sports teams and our community events, and you're always there to represent and to support the staff and to be there for the people you're representing. So you have been a great model as a commissioner, and I wish you well. And look forward to hearing what you're putting this energy into.
Okay. Staff, please.
Thank you, Chair, President Wolfson, members of the Commission. Commissioner Michaels, on behalf of myself and staff from the Community Service and Parks Department, we thank you for everything you've done the last 4.5 years that you've been a commissioner. You have given positive feedback, constructive feedback, approved a number of programs. You supported, and you continue to support all of our programs, from our One Glendale after-school youth sports program, homeless services programs. You volunteer at our homeless count, Glendale Clean and Beautiful, although not part of our department, but you also oversee the Glendale Clean and Beautiful organization. So I do like to thank you for all the service that you have provided for our department, and hopefully we'll continue to see you at our events. Let it be any of our special events, any of our programs that we offer. We'll see you around, and once again, thank you, and good luck in all the boards and committees that you are involved in. Thank you.
And I guess we move on.
I'll make one quick,
Oh, okay. Please.
if I may, one quick wish to you. That I
Commissioner, but you're breaking up a little bit. Can you,
yeah. How's that?
that's a little better, yeah.
Great. I haven't known you very long. Haven't worked very long, but it's been an honor. And thank you for your for what sounds like an incredible amount of service. And also thank you for providing leadership to me in these last two commissioner meetings that I've been in. I wish I could have worked with you longer.
Thank you, Commissioner Potel. Commissioner Michaels, would you like to offer us some guidance?
Well, thank you all for the kind words. It's been my honor and privilege to work with the department, for staff, and particularly the community. I've personally enjoyed and the opportunities that this position. I appreciate getting to know all of you quite well, and I consider many of you, most of you, friends. So I appreciate your time, and many of these events are team efforts. So my engagement, my involvement is made all the easier with the people that I work around. So I appreciate everyone's efforts, and I think you can expect to see me around a little bit. I'm not going to go anywhere, but thank you all.
Thank you. Next item, I believe, is introduction of our new commissioner, Henrik Sardar-Begin. And does someone have information?
I have these.
If Iris could read it into the record.
Yes, that was item 2B, introduction of new commissioner Henrik Sardar-Begin.
Thank you, President Wolfson, members of the commission. I would like to welcome our newest commissioner, Henrik Sardar-Begin. He's been a Glendale resident for the last 32 years. He's a graduate of Southwestern Law School, and he is an attorney here in Glendale. He is also a board member with the Glendale Homeland ARA chapter, and he's a member of a number of organizations in Glendale, one being the Armenian Bar Association, the Consumer Attorneys Association of LA, and what he loves to do is play basketball. He's been coaching basketball for the last 24 years, and probably playing since he was age 3 or 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Sardar-Begin. We do welcome you on behalf of myself and the employees of our Community Service and Parks Department. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. If you have anything that you'd like to say, Commissioner, please feel free to do so.
Thank you very much for the welcome. As a member of the community, ever since I immigrated here with my family 32 years ago, I have to say that one thing that has struck to me is how wonderful the parks and just the all that Glendale has to offer in regards to parks and different activities for the youth. So when afforded this opportunity, I couldn't help but jump into it wholeheartedly. So I'm very, very excited and just willing to learn and kind of give my 2 cents in on it and hopefully make things better for the kids and just the community here.
Great, thank you.
I want to welcome you, and I'm looking forward very much to working with you.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay. Next item, please.
Sure, that's item 3, upcoming council agenda items.
Thank you, President Wolfson, members of the commission. We do have a few things coming up in the next month. November 17th, we have a report regarding placement of a bench with a plaque and a tree at Brand Park in memory of Laura Gagan. Our second item for tomorrow night is a report regarding amendment number 3 to the County of Los Angeles Workforce Development and Aging CARES Act funding in the amount of $7,000. On December 1st, we have 2 reports, one being Prop 68 per capita funding in the amount of $177,000. The second item is Measure A, approving blanket authority to file applications for grant funds from LA County Regional Parks and Open Space District. And on December 8th, we will be taking the all-inclusive playground project at Verdugo Park.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is 4, commission staff comments.
Are there any comments from my fellow commissioners? Kate, Commissioner Eberly, we'll start with
I just wanted to acknowledge the loss of Ray Hernandez, who was a beloved member of our community and a wonderful leader and role model for so many kids who were taking skateboard lessons from him and who participated in the skate camp. My kid did a skate camp with him, and he was just a really wonderful person and a great leader, and we were lucky to experience him. And when the notes that people left, you could just see what an impact he made in our community. So I think, if I may speak on behalf of all of the commissioners and just say that we want to offer our condolences to the department and to the skate team in particular.
Yeah, we're having a slight problem with the acoustics.
President Wolfson, members of the commission, Commissioner Eberly will pass on your message to the skate park staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kafan?
Brief it for me. I couldn't understand.
Oh, and I couldn't catch everything that was said, and unfortunately, didn't know the name, so I feel very...
Sure. President Wolfson, members of the commission, a couple weeks ago, we had a employee, a skate park attendant employee pass away while he was off duty. His name was Amari Hernandez, and Commissioner Eberly wants to send her condolences to the family and skate park staff, and we will pass on her message to the skate park staff after the meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any comments?
Please pass our condolences from the commissioners, including everyone.
Will do.
Any other comments from Commissioner, do I call him Grant as well? Grant Michaels, Commissioner Michaels, do you have any comments?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Potel? Oh, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
I do. First off, I just want to say I'm sorry to hear about the loss. Sounds like he would.
Commissioner Patel, your connection seems to be bad. Not sure if you're able to call in. Maybe it would be better if you were on the phone.
And it's residents here. Can you, maybe I should call back in on the phone. Can you hear me all right? I keep changing my internet connection, but somehow that's just not working.
I think maybe call on the phone because it is, we don't
Okay.
want to miss what you have to say.
Okay, I'll call right back. Let me see.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting number from
Hello? All right.
I think you need to turn the volume down on your laptop or computer so we don't hear that echo.
Okay, how's that working?
That's better.
Much
Thank
better.
you. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your help. I apologize for all my technical difficulties today. I just want to say I'm sorry to hear about this loss. It sounds like he was quite an individual, and I'm always sorry to hear about people who do who support the city in the way that this individual sounds to have done, and to know that he had quite an impact for many people in such a positive way, and it sounds like that'll be quite a loss. On other matters, I'd like to make a request. I'd like to see if it's possible for us to ask the city to do some further, provide some further data with which to make a recommendation to council about future turf installations. If it's possible, I'd like to make a motion for the city to do a report on on artificial turf and the pros and cons of artificial turf and possible alternative installations, just to see, like Epic and maybe some other systems, just to see what kind of comparison the pros and cons are for various alternatives. My concerns in particular have to do with the fact that artificial turf, after it becomes 90 degrees or higher, can be as hot as 160 degrees, and that can be an issue for people playing on the fields. I know that the idea of having artificial turf will hopefully provide a drier surface for players to use the field. And I know that a number was given of 92 days, 92 days of increased use of the field with its installation. But I have concerns that with our increased heat happening every summer, that perhaps those 92 days will not necessarily be fully taken advantage of because of the fact that these intense heat days may in fact prevent usage of these fields with artificial turf. And we have talked about numerous fields having this installation. So I'd like to see if the city would be willing to come forward with a comparison of alternate systems, just to see what the pros and cons could be.
in comparison to artificial turf.
President Wolfson, members of the commission, we are working, we've gathered information the last few weeks in regards to artificial turf, the pros and cons. We have contacted the representative from Epic, waiting on some more information from her. And then we are looking at other alternate field turf, and we'll come to commission within the next couple of months. We want to get it right, so we will come back in a couple of months when we do our research, come back with a report to commission. Then we'll take the report to council. There are a number of soccer field projects or multi-use field projects that we're working on. And those projects do call for artificial turf, but we will do our research and come back to commission and then city council.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I look forward to seeing that report. Thank you.
Sure.
And our new Commissioner Sardarbegian, do you have any comments or? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Sorry. No, so for the first meeting, I'll think I'd sit back and kind of learn a little bit from everyone. So no, I have no comments. The only question I had is maybe we'll get to it, I guess, under action items for the temporary murals. And this may be a general question, but if money is being spent on murals, and you guys, I'm sure, have discussed this prior to me asking this question, but why is it that we're not making these murals just permanent, kind of like the electric box murals that are throughout the city? I've had a lot of, clients and friends that have kind of come into Glendale and kind of been surprised at how nice those paintings and murals are on those electric boxes. So when I read that, I was kind of confused as to why we can't just make those permanent.
Commissioner Sardarbegian, President Wilson, we will get to that item next, and that question could be addressed at the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no comments this time. Next item, please.
Next is item 5, oral communication. Do we have any callers?
I'm checking to see if there's any callers, but I don't have any holding. Nope.
Oh, well. Next item, please.
Next, consent items at A, approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held on October 19, 2020.
I will move it.
Do we have a
second?
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
I apologize, who did the second? Was it Patel?
Nope, that was Kate.
Everly. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Everly. I will proceed with the roll call. Commissioners Everly?
Yes.
Kalfayan?
Yes.
Patel?
Yes.
And Sardarbegian would abstain, correct? And President Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. Next is 8 action items. At A, selection of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission officers. At 1 is selection of president for the term November 2020 through November 2021. And 2 is selection of secretary for the term November 2020 to November 2021.
Okay.
So current President Wilson, if I may request that you turn the meeting over to me so that I can entertain nominations.
I hereby turn the meeting over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. The business before the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission is the selection of a new president. I will now entertain nominations for that office.
I will nominate Commissioner Kalfayan.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, we have a nomination for Commissioner Kalfayan. Hearing no further nominations, I'll proceed with the roll call. Commissioner Everly,
Yes.
Kalfayan,
Yes.
Hotel,
Yes.
Sardarbegian,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
I now declare Commissioner Kalfayan the duly elected President of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. Mr. President, the task before you now is to open the floor for nominations for Secretary.
You wanna s- do you wanna stay? Okay. Or we can just switch the names for today. See her.
It's okay, no.
Next time. We'll be back when you go on.
So thank you for selecting me. I hope we can work together with the staff, do our best for this community. And thank you, Commissioner Wilkinson, for your leadership all this time, in the difficult times that we went through, and every time everyone is at their home and you came here and you took the risk, and God always helped you to stay safe. And thank you for your efforts and leadership.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
I will nominate Commissioner Everly for secretary.
Iris,
Are there any
Iris.
other nominations?
Secretary.
I apologize.
Iris,
Can you?
I'm nominating Commissioner Everly for secretary.
Iris, what are the duties of the secretary?
To ensure that the actions of the committee, of the commission, are recorded appropriately. So basically, you would make sure that the minutes are accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Are there any other nominations?
yes, Commissioner
If there are
Everly.
no other, okay, if there are no other nominations, I can proceed with the roll call. Commissioner Everly,
Yes.
Commissioner Patel,
Yes.
Sardarbegian,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
and President Kalfayan.
Yes.
Okay, I now declare Commissioner Everly the duly elected Secretary of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. Item 8B, California Love temporary mural at Verdugo Skate Park update. One is a motion to approve the proposed California Love temporary mural at Verdugo Skate Park for a one-year period.
Who's doing the presentation?
The presentation.
President Kalfayan, members of the commission, we have Jennifer Fukimuro-Jones here, the Library Arts and Culture Administrator, and the artist Aldo Chacon to go over the skate park mural proposal. As you recall, a few months ago, they came to the Parks Commission with the same project, and the commission had some questions and concerns regarding the paint being environmentally safe. Since the art is temporary art, the cleaning up the art after the one-year period. So Jennifer and Aldo are here to make a brief presentation and answer any of your questions in regards to the questions that you had back in September. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Bulanikian, President Kalfayan, members of the Commission, city staff. Again, my name is Jennifer Fukutomi Jones, and I'm the Arts and Culture Administrator with the Library Arts and Culture Department. I do apologize, my camera is not working, so I'm unable to see you all today, but I'm glad and thankful that you're able to have us here today to give an update regarding the California Love Verdugo Skate Park mural. Just to quickly provide a background, I know Commissioner Startup again this is his first meeting, so the Art Happens Anywhere program was a response to the coronavirus global pandemic and its effects on the arts and culture community. So the Arts and Culture Commission approved a motion to direct staff to do a call for artists with project budgets ranging from $3,000 to $15,000 for the Art Happens Anywhere program. So it is intended to be a temporary citywide mural program. As Director Bulanikian mentioned, Aldo Chacon and I attended the September 21st Parks Commission meeting, and we thank you so much for your fantastic feedback on the Verdugo Skate Park mural. And in your packet in the report, we have a list of 5 questions that rose to the top from that meeting, which Aldo and I are planning to address today. Aldo and I are going to tag team in regards to answering the questions, so I'll just get the questions started. One of the main questions that the Parks Commission had was, why is the mural temporary and not permanent? And as I mentioned earlier, this particular mural was part of the Art Happens Anywhere program, which was intended to expand the arts and culture activities to benefit the cities of the community during the coronavirus pandemic. So the intention was always to be a temporary art program. Therefore, the maintenance fee for a permanent mural was not included as part of the artist fee when we initially made this call for artists. The second question that the Parks Commission had was, has a mural removal company been secured? And the answer to that is that Mr. Chacon has been working directly with a company called SNN Pressure Washing to discuss the mural project. And SNN Pressure Washing gave Mr. Chacon a quote of $3 per square foot for the removal, which is approximately $12,000 for the cost of removing the skate park. So moving forward, libraries and culture staff would be working with S&M Pressure Washing to secure a purchase order for the mural removal, which would be paid through the Urban Art Fund, which is managed by the Library Arts and Culture Department and the Arts and Culture Commission. The third question that the Parks Commission presented was, have the detailed methods in which the mural would be removed been solidified? And how can we ensure that the mural be removed in an environmentally friendly way and avoid usage of drains at the bottom of the bowls of the skate park? And I'm going to hand it over to Aldo Chacon, who's the artist who's discussed mural removal with the company.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having us again in your commission. I hope we're not taking a lot of your time today. But basically, what we have learned from the company about the removal process for this mural is that once the surface is ready to be removed, the mural, then they will use an environmentally safe chemical called Taganator, which I'm sure Jennifer can share you the PDF with all the information of the product and the chemicals that are also EPA approved and environmentally safe. So they will basically use that chemical on top of the paint and then pressure wash it with hot water. To avoid the water going into the drains, they will have a sub pump that will block the drains of the bowls, and then they will vacuum out all the water. And then that water can be dumped into the desired vegetation in the park, or if you want that water to be disposed somewhere else, then they can also do that.
Great, thank you, Aldo. And in regards to the details for Taganator, that is Exhibit A in your packet, which you can review the details of the actual Taganator product. The next question that the Parks Commission presented was, has the cost of the mural removal been confirmed? And as of October 15th, during the regular Arts and Culture Commission meeting, the Arts and Culture Commission approved an increase to Mr. Chacon's budget from an original $12,000 to $24,000, which would include mural removal cost. Since the mural has not yet been approved by the Parks Commission, the removal date is still to be determined. So therefore, once the Parks Commission has approved the mural, staff would work on a timeline to install and remove the mural within a 1-year timeline. And if the mural cost were to increase within the received quote of $12,000 in 2020, the Library Arts and Culture Department and the Arts and Culture Commission through the Urban Art Fund would manage the financial responsibility of any additional costs associated with the mural removal.
And the last question was, what is the special chemical that needs to be coated with the painting, which we discussed, and how can we ensure that this chemical is environmentally friendly, which Aldo already talked about. But Aldo, is there any additional information you'd like to share?
No, I think that the paint we're going to use, also there was a question about the paint, since it was going to be a temporary paint. There was a question that if the paint was going to be temporary, that if it could wash into the park. And we're using a special paint that is not going to wash with the rains. So it's going to be safe for the park to, it's not going to be slippery, and it's going to be easily removed. It's also environmentally safe. And yeah, we're going to try to do it the best we can with following all the procedures.
That is the update that we have for today, but we welcome any questions that the Parks Commission may have, and we thank you for your time.
Yeah. I think Commissioner Wilfredson has done some homework. She has some questions.
I don't have questions. Actually, what I did is when I looked at the agenda packet and saw the information, the answers to the questions that you had come up with, I went ahead and started Googling and looking things up myself and checked product information about Taganator in particular. And it all seems to be in order to me. From what I know. So I just wanted to put that out there that, and I appreciate the effort and time that both Jennifer and Aldo have put into answering our questions. So with that, I'll pass it on to
Commissioner Eberly, if you have any further questions.
I don't at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Potel. Do we have any
I do not have any further questions, but I do want to thank everyone for answering the questions we did have.
Okay. And Henrik, if you have any questions, Commissioner.
Yeah, so, and part of this goes to me traveling to New York on a number of occasions, and throughout New York, especially like Brooklyn area and stuff, there's art all over the place. And my question is to Mr. Chacon, if later on, in some way we were able to get further funding to have this continued on instead of having to wash it out within a year, would there be added costs? And if so, what would those costs be, just to kind of, or would you have to kind of get rid of everything and use a completely different paint to kind of have the work stay there?
I feel that if in a year you decided to keep the mural or you wanted to extend its life, we could find a bit more of a durable paint, or maybe see what's the state of the mural in a year, but maybe find a paint that could last for 5 years, and do a more intense coating on top of it that would like protect it for a longer time, even 10 years. I know that the city of LA already uses a specific chemical that they put on the murals. So it's kind of like a protective coat. So if in a year you decide to do it, we could try to repaint it. There will be an additional cost to do that, but I still don't have it yet. It will depend on the lifespan of the mural that you want.
Okay.
Just to quickly, Commissioner Sardarba, again, I really do appreciate your comments, and to Aldo's comment as well. The Art Happens Anywhere program, as I mentioned, is a kind of sort of pilot program. So if it is up for a year and the Parks Commission is pleased with it, and the Arts and Culture Commission is pleased with it, we can definitely revisit the lifespan and the length of the mural through the Urban Art Fund, and potentially establish a maintenance plan with Aldo.
Thank you.
This is exactly not our program. It's the arts program. They have to decide, and they have to bring in the funds to continue if you like to keep it. But now that we have all the information that if it's not permanent, it's secure, it's the cost of the removal, and it's environmentally safe, we have to approve if I can have a
President-
motion.
President Kalfayan, I'm sorry, we do have a caller. We have Grant Michaels who's waiting to speak, so if you,
Go ahead, yeah.
if you're okay.
Please.
Mr. Michaels, you're on the air.
You're muted, though.
No, he's on his phone.
Okay.
Can you speak?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. There is a slight problem with the live stream. I had intended to drop off of the WebEx meeting, call in as a member of the public, but I am connected here. I did want to go ahead and follow up on comments that I had from the last commission meeting, now speaking as a member of the public. Wearing my hat as chair of Glendale Clean and Beautiful, the Taganator project is what we use for graffiti removal. So I am very familiar with that product, and that would be appropriate to use. My recommendation, given that we would be using for that purpose, I'm pleased to know that you would be collecting the water in the bowls. Using that and having that water vegetation, just giving the volume that you would use, I'd have concerns about that. My recommendation would be to have that wastewater to the sanitary sewer. The VOC would be further diluted and less of a problem. I would be concerned if they were allowed to simply drain into the Verdugo wash. That would just be a large concentration all at once. Yes, the product is generally safe, but dilution of it is needed if there's a large volume. The other concern I had looking at the data sheet was talking about the sheen. There is a balance of the paint versus the sheen. More durable, resistant a paint is, that would hold up skate wheels, also make it and a hazard. So those are the concerns I have. I do want to say I am in favor of the project. I'd like to see this go forward, but with the concern primarily of the safety, if we are painting concrete with a paint that has a high sheen, looking at the data sheet, I believe at a sheen about 12%. I just want to go ahead and see if there were any other examples where this paint was used to paint concrete decking and whether or not it would be a slipping hazard, particularly when it's wet. But otherwise, I do see a benefit to this project and would like to see it go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant Michaels. I cannot call you Commissioner. I'm sure the staff is going to take into consideration all your recommendation. And do we have any comments from the commissioners before we have a motion to move this project?
This is Commissioner Patel. I would say that I would echo Mr. Michaels' suggestion about not overwhelming the Verdugo wash. I do understand it's EPA approved, the chemicals in the Taganator, but anything in large amounts do have an impact. So I would definitely echo his concerns in that area. Thank you.
President Kalfayan, members of the commission, Mr. Grant Michaels, to that regard, in speaking with the artist in preparation for the gray water, our intent is to take the gray water and not dump it into the Verdugo wash, but use it for vegetation within the park, transfer the water into the vegetation, so we're using it to water the plants within the park versus having it be dumped into the Verdugo wash. So your comments are well taken, and we will work with the artist and the removal company if that time comes to make sure it is done in a safe environmental way.
Can I just quickly add on that? I think one other concern is just to make sure it's sufficiently diluted so it doesn't hurt the plants. But I'm sure you can field that question.
Yes, Commissioner Wolfson, we shall. We're gonna do our best to make sure everything is done appropriately. That we don't intend to harm our plants and/or vegetation in the park. So we'll do our best to make sure it's done the right way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions from any commissioner? Otherwise,
President Kalfayan, Commissioner Eberly, I believe, dropped the call, but she is trying to come back on, so. We can proceed until she gets back on, but I just wanted to note that she is not part of the meeting right now, so she's trying to log back on. If you want to wait to take the vote, we can. She is trying to log back on as I speak.
is she on now? Commissioner
Not yet.
or Eberly?
Eberly. She's not on yet.
Can we go ahead and have a motion without her?
You do have a quorum, so if you do want to, Onig, I could defer to you. Do we want to take a vote? We do have a quorum. Commissioner Eberly dropped from the call.
Well, we could at least make the motion.
Yeah, let's have a motion.
Right?
I would make the motion and wait until she logs back on and we'll make the vote. We'll take the vote.
I would like to move to approve the proposed California Love temporary mural for a one-year period.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
I second.
Okay. Iris, go ahead.
Iris will be the tiebreaker.
Okay, would you like me to move forward with the roll call?
I think we have to wait for.
Iris, I think we said we would wait for Commissioner Eberly to take the roll call. She's trying to log back on.
Okay, noted, thank you.
Should we go ahead for the next item or wait?
We can move on to the next item. Iris, can we move on to the next item and come back to take a vote?
Yes, certainly. The next item is 9, reports information only at AS Glendale Sports Complex Annual Report for July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Is my mic on? Are we okay? Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, members of the commission. My name is Gabrielle Golia, and I'm a senior community services supervisor for the department. One of the areas that I oversee is the Glendale Sports Complex. The Glendale Sports Complex was built in 1999. We are open daily, although we did have some COVID closures between March and June. But outside of that, we have been open daily. Am I okay? Okay. We have been open daily.
Sorry, it didn't share the screen, it appears, so let me try one more time.
We'll pause for a moment. There we go. Okay. So this was our second slide. The first was just an introduction page. So this is our the first real slide of our presentation for those of you who can just now see it. This is an overhead of the Glendale Sports Complex with our 5 fields noted on there. As you can see, field number 1 is a baseball field. It is an artificial turf baseball field that is also a U12 soccer field. It's stitched in the outfield, which you can see just barely underneath that field 1 text. Fields 2 and 3 are softball fields. And fields 4 and 5 are soccer fields. 4 and 5 are also artificial turf soccer fields, and they're both full-sized fields. Field 4 is just slightly smaller than Field 5, but they are both full regulation-sized fields for high school and adult soccer. I went over the fields that we have up at the sports complex a little bit, but we also do have a meeting room, a community meeting room, which is used by various sports organizations. Sometimes it's used by film permits. It's also the home meeting room for the Glendale Community College girls softball team when they do meetings with their girls. And we also have an outdoor patio and snack bar area. The snack bar is operated by one of our community youth groups. The Connie Mack Babe Ruth Juniors Division operates that, and they run it to the public when our leagues are open. So it is not open at this point in time currently due to COVID-19, but when our leagues are running, it is in operation. So field number 1, that artificial turf baseball U12 soccer field, is a beautiful field. This was fully converted to the artificial turf baseball field in 2018 as part of a joint project or an MOU with St. Francis High School. They paid for the full construction cost of the field, and they get priority booking for the field. During their high school season, their use of the field is free. Anything outside of their high school season, like summer camps and winter fall ball, they do pay the regular nonprofit rates for it because they are a nonprofit organization. Fields 2 and 3 are our softball fields, and they are natural grass softball fields. They are used for the city's adult softball program. High schools, local high schools, and the Glendale Community College do use those fields. Number 2 is the home field for Glendale Community College. They're also used for soccer practices. We don't allow games out there too much. AYSO has some games on field number 3 because it's large enough to get a field on it during their fall season. But they're more used for softball and some baseball practices. Fields 4 and 5 are 2 regulation soccer fields, are both full-size soccer fields. They are playable in all weather. They do not need the downtime for maintenance. They're used daily, and we typically have a waiting list for the prime time, which is the evening times, Monday through Friday from 4 to 10 p.m. and on the weekends. We are typically booked on those fields 363 days a year. There's usually 1 or 2 days, major holidays, where people won't book them. We do allow for rentals on the major holidays if the renter is willing to pay for it, but there's always a day here and there throughout the year where just nobody wants to play. But almost every day of the year, these fields are booked. At the Glendale Sports Complex, we also have the Mountain Dew and the Catalina Verdugo trails. These are 2 trails that construction began in December of 2012, and the trails opened in June of 2013. The Mountain Dew Trail in this picture is the trail that is red around the soccer fields. It is an ADA accessible trail that runs behind the soccer fields. It's accessible from both sides, so people can do a loop around the back of the soccer fields. And at the back side of that Mountain Dew Trail is the Catalina Verdugo Trail in yellow, and it switchbacks up from behind the soccer fields. It connects up to the fire roads if people wish to go up that far, or it loops all the way around the complex and comes back down to the parking lot entrance. So that's approximately 2.25 miles, and people can come and walk that entire trail, parking at the same location. And it's not an in and out, it's a loop. So we get a lot of hikers and bicyclists that enjoy that trail. We get people that can access it from the backside. Camino San Rafael Road over in the Emerald Isle neighborhood does connect to that trail through the fire roads. So even if the complex is closed, the trail is accessible to people who would like to hike it. And that was an important part during COVID-19 closures because trails were open long before the fields were open back up. So people were able to access the trails and hike even though the complex was closed to soccer and softball rentals. The reservations for the Glendale Sports Complex, staff at the complex do reservations for the 5 athletic fields, the community meeting room, and then they also do all the reservations for our 12 outlying athletic fields in Glendale. Stengel Baseball Field is listed here. We don't do the field reservations at Stengel anymore because that is under an MOU with the Glendale Unified School District for the scheduling of it. However, we still utilize it for film permits if requests come in. So we still do some permitting over at that location. Revenue from the 12 outlying fields is deposited into our citywide sports account. So even though the staffing crosses over both programs, in this report, we're only reflecting the revenues from the 5 fields at the Glendale Sports Complex. So field rental revenue in 2019-20 for the 5 fields at the sports complex was $324,500. There were some mischarges that you see in the account breakdown below. Those are incorporated into this grand total here that I'm listing. They're being, well, the budget has closed, the fiscal year has closed for those, so we're just accounting for them as field rentals. In researching it, these field rental revenues and a few refunds went into the wrong account. They're all part of the sports complex, though. They were just a different line item in it. This is a decrease of over $150,000 in revenue from last year, and that does relate and correlate directly to the closure for COVID-19. We did provide refunds to customers who had already paid for the time between March and June 22nd. We closed on March 13th, and we opened back up for youth sports camps on June 22nd. So between that time, any customers who had already paid received a refund or a credit if they were requesting it to come back as soon as we opened back up. And then we did lose any potential revenue for permits that had not yet been issued. The Adult Slow Pitch Softball League is one of the programs we operate on fields 2 and 3 at the Glendale Sports Complex, as well as a couple of those citywide fields. We have a men's league that runs Tuesday through Friday evenings, and a co-ed league that runs Sunday afternoons and evenings, and Monday evenings. This year, we did generate $102,010 in revenue. That is down. That is a decrease of about $58,000 from last year. And again, that correlates directly to the COVID-19 closures. We did not offer any tournaments this year, softball tournaments, even before COVID-19. Staff have been finding that people in this area just aren't interested in the tournaments. A lot of these teams travel either within Southern California to facilities that have cash prizes and allow alcohol at the tournaments, or we're finding, especially during COVID-19, they're traveling to Arizona. So there's a lot of travel to outside areas for big tournaments where they can win cash and they can consume alcohol at the site. So due to those reasons, we cannot allow the alcohol consumption, and we can't do cash prizes with our tournaments. So we have found that allowing those fields to be rented for reservations during those times is a better use of the fields and the staff energy. We did have 367 total teams registered. That does include some of our spring registration for the softball league, which we did have to refund. We had taken registration right before the COVID-19 closures, and we had to refund all of those teams. Other programs that we have at the sports complex, we have the Master Soccer program. Oh, we lost it. I'll wait for a moment for it to come back up. To it. Well, I can talk about Master Soccer while she's bringing it back up. The Master Soccer program averaged 15 participants per day. This is a soccer program on Wednesdays and Fridays for adults over 40 years of age, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays it's for adults over 60 years of age. In addition, as part of the Master Soccer program, after they play regular soccer on Tuesdays and Fridays, there is also a walking soccer program that is offered for those same participants who can walk. They don't do any running as part of the program, they only do walking. And that way they can exercise without the impact and without the danger of any kind of injuries for players who are worried about that. And here it comes back up. Whoop. There we go. The participants pay $2 per day to play. It's a drop-in casual game. We do not provide referees for this program. We do have a staff person out there who collects the fees and collects release of liability forms. Now, this program unfortunately has not come back yet due to COVID-19. Right now, the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health protocols state that youth sports leagues may play and youth sports camps, but there are no adult sports allowed at this point in time. And so we have not brought back the Master Soccer program yet. Once the county allows that type of program in adult sports to resume, we will definitely be resuming this program immediately. Teresa, I can't forward anymore. Would you mind forwarding it? Okay. The revenue sources. This year in the 2019-20 revenues, revenue and expenditures, we had $278,231 in expenditures, and we had $439,012 in revenue. So there was a profit this year of $160,781 for the sports complex operations. We did have a larger amount originally budgeted for as part of our operations, but of course with the COVID closures and the reduction in the revenue that we brought in, we did see less profit than we had originally budgeted for, but we did still operate in the black, which was wonderful. We were not able to save quite as much in the staffing money because there were full-time salaries associated with this. But we did save on utilities and hourly staffing during COVID-19 closures because we were not running the lights and we were not paying hourly staff from March 13th through June 22nd. And, next slide, please. Our community outreach for this facility, we use the department newsletter, the city's webpage, and word of mouth. Our programs are typically full at this site and we have a waiting list for soccer time. So we don't have a need to advertise it past what our department typically does with our websites and our newsletters, and just general word of mouth just because of the waiting list already in existence. We're afraid that we would disappoint customers if we had even more people trying to get in. We have seen new customers joining us that we've never worked with before during COVID-19. Our facilities were open a little bit before some of the surrounding cities, even though the county had allowed it earlier. Some cities were not quite ready to open yet, and so we have seen some new youth sports groups come over from Los Angeles, like Ferraro Fields and Pasadena, looking for time. And so we've been working with them during the COVID-19 closures, knowing that when things open back up a little bit more, they will have other fields to go back to, and at the same time, we will probably be bringing back our return customers who had had field time prior to COVID. We certainly don't want to have anyone lose time that had it before just because new customers have come in during this time. That is all I have for you at this point in time. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Commissioner Wolfenson.
I don't really have any questions. I just want to thank you for persevering, and it's been a difficult time. And I think I'm relieved that the results financially were not worse, considering everything that we've been through over the past 8-9 months. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Wolfson.
Thank you. Commissioner Everly.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Patel.
Yeah, I have no questions. I'm just impressed that you, as well, that you were able to have such a profit, considering how this year has gone.
And Commissioner Sarabet again. Henrik.
Henrik is fine. Yeah, no questions. Good job.
Okay, I have a question about, we reopened and we are renting the fields. Are there games allowed to play officially on the fields?
President Kalfai and members of the commission, at this point in time, no games or scrimmages are allowed. The county has limited that as part of the protocol for the return to play with the youth sports leagues. It is a difficult thing for coaches to understand sometimes, and we are constantly patrolling the fields and checking in with all of the users to make sure that they are only scrimmaging. Some of the protocols also include that kids may not pass the ball between more than 2 players to help avoid contamination and cross-contamination between multiple players, for instance, in baseball, throwing a ball back and forth. So some of these protocols should preclude games automatically, although the leagues do like to try and find any way to have a scrimmage. So we are patrolling regularly to discourage it and stop them when we see it and when we find out about it.
Thank you. Next item, please.
I apologize. Item 9B, Aquatic Annual Report, July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. Actually, President Kalfayan, did you want to go back to item 8B
Yes.
for a vote?
Yes.
Is it
Okay,
7B?
so then we are returning
Let's
to
go back so we can
8B.
approve the.
Isn't it 7B?
Iris, the item in mind is 7B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize.
I had made a motion.
We had the motion, and it was seconded already.
Right, there's a motion on the floor to approve.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. I have that on the record that Commissioner Patel seconded the motion. So I'll go ahead and proceed with the roll call. Commissioners Everly,
Yes.
Kalfayan,
Yes.
I'm sorry, well,
It's okay.
Patel,
Yes.
okay, Sardarbegian,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay. Next item, please.
Okay, next is item 9B, Aquatics Annual Report, July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, members of the commission. My name is Courtney Maglio. I'm a community services supervisor for the department, and I oversee the aquatics program, and I'm here to present. Originally, the aquatics program started in 2000, so we've been operating for almost 22 years now. Originally, it was a summer-only program that operated at the 3 high school pools, and over the years, we operated at the 3 high school pools up through summer 2011 when Pacific Pool formally opened. At that time, we also operated Hoover High School for 1 summer, and then the budget shifted over to operations solely at Pacific Pool. We still maintained swim and water polo practices at Hoover High School, but the majority of our operations are now taking place at Pacific Pool. In years past, the aquatics program, as mentioned, was a seasonal-only program. However, as part of the fiscal 2019-2020 fiscal year, the City Council appropriated $560,000 from Measure S funding to expand the operation of Pacific Pool to be year-round. So with that expansion, the program continued on last summer at the conclusion of the summer program into year-round operations. And so we continued with all of the same elements of the program. However, we did experience a closure due to COVID from March 13th to when we reopened on June 15th of 2020. So as mentioned, we're still doing all of the same types of program elements, lap swimming, recreation swim, instructional swim lessons. Sorry. Oh, program elements. If I see it here, does that mean I see it? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So recreation swim, lap swimming, instructional swim lessons, community swim team, community water polo team, junior lifeguard academy, and some special events, private rentals, as well as our wading pool operations. Our program dates, so our summer program is Memorial Day through Labor Day, and then year-round is Labor Day through Memorial Day. And so as mentioned, this year from March 13th to June 15th, June 14th, we were closed, and then we reopened on June 15th. Wading pools this summer were not operational due to COVID, so we were unfortunately able to operate both to the public as well as for rental opportunities. Our swimming fees are daily, so people can enter on a daily entrance, or they have the opportunity to purchase an unlimited monthly pass. Both fees are listed here. Our attendance for recreation swim that's a popular element of the program, and so you can see even though we've switched to year-round and this report is for the year-round, we wanted to provide you with a comparison of the summer operations for recreation swim. Just note that for summer 2020, those numbers don't differentiate between lap and recreation swim because of the protocols, we are operating on a lane rental basis or lane reservation basis, so we're unable to distinguish between whether it's a family coming in for recreation swim or lap swim. Our year-round attendance as well is September, from last September through the closure March 13th. It doesn't include the months from March 13th to June 14th when we were closed. Our fees for swim lessons, we have resident and non-resident rates, and we have various classes that we offer. One thing to note is that in the report that we provided, it said that lessons were 2 weeks long. However, during the year-round program, the fee was updated to be a full session, to be called a full session rather than a 2-week session, because we extend, in the year-round, we extend the number of weeks that we offer, but shorten the number of days per week. So it's still the same amount of time that we're offering, it's just over a longer period of time. Swim lessons for the summer of 2019, we had 2,535 people participate in swim lessons, whereas in the summer of 2020, it was only 523. And again, that's as a result of COVID and as a result of lower numbers of kids allowed in classes. At one point, it was 7 to 10 per class, and it's been reduced to a maximum of 4 to ensure that we're properly distancing. Over the year round, we did have 324 enrollees, which was great. Junior Lifeguard Academy, we offered in summer 2019 with a total of 20 participants. However, that program was not offered in summer 2020. We do offer both a swim and a water polo team. Our swim team is called the Glendale Gators. Our water polo team is called the Glendale Polo Bears. That program is offered in a competitive format during the summer, and then in a non-competitive format in the year-round program. And so you can see the participation numbers for summer, fall, and winter. We are unable to report on spring numbers, although we started to get registrations for the spring program and had to subsequently cancel and refund those. So we don't know what those numbers would have been, but it's likely that they would have been starting to increase as we geared up for summer. Our wading pool program, as mentioned, operated in summer 2019, but did not operate in summer 2020. In 2019, there were 108 rentals, private rentals for birthday parties and such, and that has become a really popular element of the program, so we're looking forward to trying to get back to that. One thing that we did offer this year-round was the American Red Cross Lifeguard Training Course. So our junior lifeguard program is for ages 12 to 14, but the American Red Cross Lifeguard Training Course is for people age 15 and up, and that's where people can become certified as lifeguards and then subsequently apply for a job to become a lifeguard. And through the course of both the fall and the spring programs, we had 10 participants, and of those 10, 5 of them ended up getting hired by the city and are now currently working as lifeguards. So that's exciting. Next slide, please, Teresa. It's not working. Thank you. Yes. So we also offered some special events on a regular basis. We would offer Family Fun Day, the Vartivar Water Play Day. We had a dive-in movie last summer, which was cool. It was the movie Moana, and we had lots of participation, and you can see the picture there. And then we also had a thank swimming party that President Wilson was an attendee for. That was nice. Thank you for attending and supporting that. It was a really nice event as a way to thank City Council for appropriating the funding for the year-round operations of the pool. With regards to the fiscal impact, we took a look now we're taking a look at it on a fiscal year. So there's two different things here. We have the year-round operations funded through Measure S, and here we show the budget as well as the actuals for that. There was no revenue budgeted for Measure S programming this year, but we have added revenue estimates for the upcoming 2020-2021 budget that will be based on the operations from this previous year. The revenues and expenditures were down as expected as a result of COVID, and the staffing costs did not adjust lower because we still had to have extra staff on site to assist with enforcement of the proper protocols, as well as additional cleaning and sanitizing that was required. And then the summer program fiscal impact, we have the expenditures as well as the revenue here. And so because it was funded through the general fund and the special revenue fund through June 30th, it was then collapsed. The special revenue fund was then collapsed beginning July 1, 2019. So that is now how we're reporting and how the figures are shown here. In 2019-2020, the one thing is waiting pools generated revenue $5,140 in revenue, whereas private rentals for Pacific Pool generated $4,370 in rental. And there's a comparison for 2018 and 2019, where waiting pools generated $14,938 in revenue, and Pacific Pool generated $9,575 in revenue. That is the conclusion of the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report. It's a difficult times that we're going through, especially with swimming. I don't see the commissioners. Let's start with you, Commissioner Wilferson, till they come in, if you have a comment.
I have no questions, but thank you for the report. And again, I'm relieved that things are not worse financially and otherwise. So,
Commissioner Eberly?
I have no
questions? No. Commissioner Patel?
I have a couple of questions. Per the discussion of the extension of the full year use, is the Pacific Park pool heated?
The pool is heated. Depending on the time of year, the temperature of the pool is adjusted, typically between 82 and 84 degrees.
That's great. My other question, the 4,119 number for September through May of 2019 to 2020, considering the pool closed due to COVID in March, is a pretty significant number. I just want to say that the Measure S money looks to be put to good use for the community. Does that number indicate the number of uses, or is that the number of individuals who have used the pool during that time?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch which number you were referring to.
Yes, the 4,119 number for the September through May of 2019 to 2020. Obviously, a fair amount of those months, the pool was closed due to COVID. But I still think that that's a pretty good number for the first time opening for the extended year, does that number indicate the number of uses or the number of individuals who use the pool during that time?
The 4,119 for year-round attendance is reflective of the number of recreation and lap swimmers who utilized the pool during that time period.
So that's different individuals, not the.
It's duplicated numbers. So what we track is the number of people who enter each day. So it could be, it is duplicated. There are definitely people who are repeat users.
Got it. Okay. Still think that's pretty good for your first winter and dealing with COVID. I want to ask you also the per 2-week session for swim lessons.
Yes.
How does that work out as far as how many lessons and for what length of time for each lesson? I know you said that it changes once the summer is over, but I'm curious to find out. The rates seem very reasonable, and I wanted to find out a bit more how the lessons break down over that time period.
Sure, of course. President Kalfayan, members of the commission, I'm sorry. The summer program offers a 2-week session where there's 8 25-minute classes encompassed in that session. But when we move to the year-round, we are offering 6 35-minute classes over the course of 3 weeks. So then it would be twice per week for 3 weeks in the year-round operations. And in the summer, I said 8 25-minute classes. Those are run Monday through Thursday. Monday through Thursday for a 2-week time period. Although in the summer, we also do have Friday, Saturday, Sunday classes that are offered in 2-week increments. So there would be 6 35-minute classes or 8 25-minute classes in the summer as 2 different options for families. Whereas in the year-round, it's only 6 35-minute classes, either weekday or weekend options. So we still give parents options for weekday or weekend classes in the year-round as well.
And those are group classes, correct?
They are. So in the summer, in this past summer 2019, the average number of kids for each class was 7 to 10, whereas in the off season, we kept the maximum the same. When we returned in the summer of 2020, we did have to reduce the class size to a maximum of 4 to adhere to the proper social distancing guidelines.
Of course. I'd also just want to recognize the innovative and fun events that you have created with family recreation swim time, those dive-in movies with the big screen and inflatables and popcorn, relay races and scavenger hunts. I thought that was very inventive and a terrific way to engage families during those hot summer months.
Yes, thank you.
And then lastly, I also want to recognize how much the wading pools were such an integral part of my own experience with my son in his first few years. And I know countless families who use the wading pools as well. And it served not only as a great pastime in the summer months, but it was a terrific resource where families could connect with other parents with children in the local area. So I just want to let you know, as someone who used those greatly, I can attest to their incredible value for quality of life when you have a young child in those summer months. Thank you.
President Kalfayan, members of the commission, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. We do get lots of comments on the wading pools, and it is a popular program, and I'm really happy to hear that you've had a positive personal experience and that you know people who have had the same. Thank you.
Let's hear from Commissioner Henrik. Any questions?
No, I have no questions, but to kind of, I also have 2 kids that are kind of involved with a lot of the sports stuff. And we haven't really used the aquatics of the city, but I think that a lot of, I guess, other cities have just kind of thrown their white flag and quit. So I'm very, very happy to see that our city hasn't done that, and they've kind of continued with every single program. Obviously, it's limited in the number of participants we could have, but just the fact that we're just kind of going on despite the fact that there's this giant concern, it's awesome. Great job.
Thank you. The commissioners are welcome to come and see you at your program to make ourselves more familiar with all the programs, right? Anytime.
Of course, anytime. President Kalfayan, members of the commission, we would welcome you to come. We do have lane rentals available if you're interested in swimming. We could certainly make arrangements for you to come and swim. If you're interested in just coming and taking a tour, we could make arrangements for that. Whatever you would like to do, we'd be happy to show you around and show you what the existing operation is.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Item 8C, Youth and Family Services Annual Report 2019 through 2020.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, members of the commission. My name is John Malakyan, Community Services Supervisor with the Parks Department, here today to present the Youth and Family Annual Report. And I will go ahead and dive right in. On to the next slide, please. Youth and Family Services Unit operates out of Pacific Community Center Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30. We serve youth up to 17 years of age, but we do extend to parents, guardians, and siblings of those youth when they need extra support. We also assist with adults, 18 to 21, that might also be struggling with employment or needing some community service support. So we try to extend ourselves to a little beyond 17. Next slide, please. Some of the descriptions of the program, the components that we do have, we do a lot of youth outreach. We're basically an information and referral service. It's our major component. We have a case management program. We have a teen drop-in program that's a dual component recreation and workshops. And we have a community-based teen volunteering program. And we try to reach out to the community as much as possible as well. Next slide, please. Some of the ways we outreach for youth, we're a member of the School Attendance Review Board. The acronym for that is SARB. We work closely with the County of Los Angeles Probation Department. We work with the Student Wellness Office for GUSD to bring in new clients and teams that are struggling with getting a little additional support. And we work closely with GPD and the school resource officers for a lot of our just clients referrals, which I'll discuss in a little bit. Next slide, please. This year, we started something new. We wanted to really reach out to as many teens as we could. So we were able to create the inaugural Hoover High School and Glendale High School resource fairs, where we brought in 10 city departments and we were able to provide them information on employment, when to apply for the fire cadet program or apply for the police cadet program, or get a little more detail about the library and art and culture department. The Verdugo Job Center attended, the Glendale Youth Alliance attended, and one of the non-city departments that attended was Glendale Community College, because they offer these wonderful programs where teens that are currently in high school can also take some college courses. So we thought teens would be interested in that. Next slide, please. Here's some pictures from the Hoover High School event. As you can see, the fire cadet program there, you could see Sam with the Parks Department telling the kids when to apply for jobs, because what we realized is we can give them the resources, but they need the specific details. So we actually created little sheets that day that told them, hey, this is when we have our job openings. If you want to do aquatics, if you want to do parks, if you want to be a volunteer. As you can see there, there's the police cadet program. And if you look really closely, the young gentleman on the right, his name's Tony Kademian. He was one of our recreation leader ones, kind of climbed up the ladder, was able to link up with our school resource officer, Vlad Akopian, and now he's one of our police cadets, which is great. And then the right there, you could see the Verdugo Job Center at Hoover. Next slide, please. This is the Glendale High School Resource Fair, which actually got a lot more kids to come out. Obviously, we did it during lunchtime, but if you can look closely, you can see how the tables are kind of in a U shape. And then there's I know they're hard to see everyone, but the blue canopy in the back was PD. Michelle Gonzalez is there on the right-hand side. If you look at the lower corner, again, there you could see Sam and EDD and GYA. And the idea behind these resource fairs was a lot of the time they're asking for individual resources, but the concept was, if you can just bring everything to them in one day, you might be able to answer, 10, 20 times more questions than you would normally get to. Next slide, please. Some of the referrals we do give out, mental health has become a big one. Our own Youth and Family Services unit is called on quite regularly, obviously, for legal assistance. We get a lot of calls about City Glendale departments. How do you reach water and power, integrated waste, things of that nature. Nutrition, so like the Salvation Army Pantry, or we'll get calls from senior clients that are looking for the home delivered meals program or congregate meals. So we do a lot of referring out there. Employment, where we're, referring out to VJC or GYA or any way we can help. Education, when someone has a question about the Glendale Unified School District. And of course, in Glendale, housing is a major issue, and we take a few phone calls about that throughout the year as well. Next slide, please. This year we created a Youth and Family Services Community Resource Guide. Again, as I said in the beginning, we're more of a referral and research source. So we wanted to find an expedited way if someone reached out to us that we could send them information, or they could find it on the parks webpage if they look for youth and family. So this contains anything from intellectual disabilities or domestic violence assistance, or again, City Glendale departments and legal help and youth and family services, Salvation Army, all the things that you would need within the city of Glendale to quickly get an answer for something you're looking for in the community. Next slide, please. Another one of the components was the case management program. Again, most of these are referrals from either LA County or the Glendale Police Department, which we've started to really connect with more closely, just to provide hours for a teen that got into some sort of trouble, whether it's curfew breaking or possession of tobacco or a minor assault or vandalism theft. And we try to give them some direction on how to be balanced and restore their credentials, and to learn through the community by being in the building around other professionals and rec leaders, that we hope our rec leaders reflect what we'd like them to end up becoming, because ultimately, if we could, and they do a good job, the objective would be to potentially turn them into staff down the line. Next slide, please. One of our major components is our Teen Night Out. It's a dual component program. Here, what you see is the recreation part of it. The kids get to come in, or I'm sorry, the teens get to come in, and as you can see, they do a lot of PS4, pool. They like to play basketball outside. They hang out together. They get something to eat. They chat up. They do a little homework, and that happens. So Teen Night Out in its physical form was available to our teens until March 13th, which again, like every other thing you've heard tonight, basically was the end of the line for any physical programming. So before I go into the virtual stuff, I'll show you one more slide. Next slide, please. We did the second part of Teen Night Out. So bi-monthly, we do workshops. So outside of them just hanging around, we try to provide them regular workshops where they can enhance some sort of understanding of whether it's getting into college or the harms of vaping or how to be a safe driver. And again, we partner up with so many different agencies and city departments and nonprofits. It really is a pleasure of a program, because you can bring in pretty much anyone that's willing to come in and speak on being a realtor or being an attorney or whatever the case is. And you can get anywhere from 10 to 15 teens that are there to get community service hours, but are there for a topic. And if you can see in the background, towards the end, parents are becoming a lot more interested in topics as well. And they started trickling in into the workshops as well. Next slide, please. So in March, when we shut down until about the 1st of May, we weren't able to provide any programming, but quickly, with the direction of our admin, we moved into virtual programming. So in May and June, which covers the fiscal year here, we had virtual Teen Night Out, do a lot of mental health stuff for our teens, because we knew that was going to be a hot topic. They're home, they're claustrophobic, they need somewhere to go and something to do. So for the first couple of months, we really focused on giving them as much information about COVID-19. We work with Verdugo Hills Hospital, who's a great partner, and they brought in a couple of speakers who were very accurate and gave the teens facts, more than guessing on what a face mask does, or do I need to wear it, or what about my parents. We tried to cover the gamut, and as you can see, Dr. Magrin helped us in the beginning really get the ball rolling from the Glendale Unified School District on providing some good virtual presentations, which has carried on and has grown quite a large following here. And we'll discuss that in next year's report. Next slide, please. Again, in March when we shut down, we were looking for virtual programming. We were able to partner up with AGBU Gen Next and created after-school tutoring for all school-age kids. We had as many as 32 unduplicated students participate in this program. So on for math, we did Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 5 to 6:30, and then we offered English tutoring on Tuesdays from 5 to 6:30. We noticed that math was much more difficult, and the kids seemed to be kind of coming to do math more than they were doing English. But generally speaking, it turned out to be a great collaboration, and we look forward to doing more in the future. Next slide, please. Teen volunteers, which is a big part of the Youth and Family Services unit. Basically, teens that need to get their 100 hours done at their school sites will come to us for quite a bit of getting those hours done. They'll help with our seasonal day camps, spring extravaganza, our Theater Chavez event, Riverwalk cleanups, fall festival, mainly a lot of the programs at Pacific Community Center to help with our One Glendale after school youth sports program, making banners, helping the officials. So the teens are, the volunteering aspect is greatly missed because they offer us a wonderful free way to get young people out in the community really learning and volunteering. And again, the objective, just like everything else, is to take those teen volunteers and create wonderful staff out of them in the future. Next slide, please. As far as reaching out to the community itself, obviously we use PCHAR. We're fortunate enough to have our own Instagram page at MyGlendale Teens. So we do have, I think, over 400 followers right now. We're always trying to grow. We're sharing flyers, we're sharing important updates throughout the city, but ultimately, we're very fortunate to have a way to reach out to our teens directly. And recently, Parks Department opened up a Glendale Parks at Home webpage, and that's got a good little following going. So we reach out to our community as quickly and as efficiently as we can to make sure they're aware, mainly of Teen Night Out and some of the big programs going on in our own section, but the department as well, and obviously the city of Glendale as well. Next slide, please. Some of our participation numbers, obviously these were impacted by COVID, but the physical Teen Night Out numbers were really going well up until about March. Then when we shifted over to virtual, we had 72 duplicated teens that have started joining us, and that number has started to grow as well. Case management was doing really well, but up until March 13th, and then unfortunately the physical aspect was cut down, so that number wasn't as large as we'd like it to be, but we do expect it to come back and grow really well in the future. Our referral resources ticked up just a little bit. Again, virtual homework support at 32 unduplicated students, community team volunteers. That number was impacted again by COVID. We were up to 52, but unfortunately in March when we stopped physically, volunteering was no longer available, so we switched to a virtual. The virtual works in a way where if they come to Teen Night Out and they have their cameras on and they engage in conversation, we give them an hour, and depending on how long it goes, 2 hours of participation. We're one of the only programs, I think, that's actually giving the teens a place to go get volunteer hours, and they want to get that criteria met, so we offer them that opportunity as well. Next slide, please. Just some statistics. As you can see, obviously, the 13 to 18-year-old category is going to be predominantly our main category. We are seeing, an even number of 19 to 29-year-olds. The numbers are not changing very much, but like I said, with all the mental health stuff that's going on, we're seeing a lot. This is for next year as well, but we're seeing a lot of change in that regard, where the 19 to 29-year-old and the 30 to 39-year-old and people with younger children are going to start to get more involved with the virtual because they want to be able to help their kids at home and feel a little better about what they're participating in. Next slide, please. A little more background on what type of resources we're referring out. Obviously, youth and family is 44% of what we do, but we started noticing a huge uptick in mental health. At 25% of the calls and the referrals were pushing out. Nutrition has grown a little bit. Legal, City of Glendale departments, employment, education, and housing are the major topics that when someone calls youth and family, this is where we're sharing information. Next slide, please. As far as our budget goes, it's a 2-year comparison and an up-to-date on 2021. In 18-19, we had a lot of turnover with our full-time staff, so there was a little less money spent because the supervisor position and the specialist position had vacancies for a couple of months. In 19-20, that number again is about $40,000 less because of COVID, and for about 3 months we didn't spend any money. And in 2021, there's going to be a huge hourly savings because our part-timers are not running the program, the full-timers are running it currently, and that's, at this point, that's more than enough. And so we're going to have plenty of cost savings in 2021 YTD. Next slide, please. I want the community to feel free to reach out to me anytime. My number and my email are up there. And that's my presentation. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you.
Thank you, John. It looks like you have a challenging job that we're giving to this community. It's a very wide range of services, and I'm not going to ask you, each one of you, if you have comments because of the time, but John gave you his number to call him if you have any questions. Please call, but if you want to have an urgent question right now, go ahead, please ask him.
Well, if you want to flash your number and email again, I'll wait and I'll contact you directly.
I did want to say, I know Commissioner Michaels is no longer with us, but I did appreciate all the years of service, especially with the MyGlendale program. I don't think he missed a championship game once, so I did appreciate that. And I want to say hello to Mr. Sardar Begian. We played basketball against each other quite a few times in Hominiment. Really good guy, great add to the family. Welcome aboard. I think your mom's over at Hoover, so we've got some ties together. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, she's there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, thank you. And next item, please.
Next is 8D, Park Services Section Monthly Activity Report for October 2020.
Good afternoon, President Kalfayan, members of the Commission. For the month of October, the Park Services crew completed 618 work orders, of which 567 were completed by groundskeepers and 51 for irrigation repair work, for total labor hours of 2,103 hours. And of that COVID-related, 367 work orders, which equals approximately 926 hours, were for additional restroom maintenance, and 17 work orders, 27 hours for caution taping. We have a couple of projects we'd like to highlight for you. Since our last meeting, we completed a few more projects. One over at Brand Park. This is the north side of the library. These are giant birds of paradise, and as you allow them to grow, they do get overgrown and they fully encompass the areas. So our crews went in there and did a nice cleanup job to give it the shape and the look it should have. And every couple of years, we'll probably have to do this at this location. This is, again, the same location, northwest side of the library. And also by the tea house, along the walkway just past the tea house, there is an area that we wanted to replant, and as we normally would do, we laid out the plants. Our staff filled them in, and as we're watering, we continue to improve locations within that park. This is North Verdugo and Ocean View Boulevard. This was part of our turf removal project that we did a few years ago in reducing turf in our medians because of the governor's orders to not have ornamental turf within medians, given the drought. This area is, again, right at the corner. The businesses here asked us to do something that would want us to bring the turf back. Well, this is still considered part of the area where it's watered by potable water. We couldn't. We decided instead to plant it. And we decided to pick the regular plants we do for our drought tolerance landscapes. We had it laid out, and our staff went in and beautified it. And here is the final product for that location. And eventually, we're going to go back in here and add some mulch to cover the rest of the area. And as you can see, it's more meandering design to mimic the actual location itself. At the Civic Auditorium, this is the front entrance. You can see from this aerial, even the turf needed some love. And this is before the renovation we had done. We presented to Commission, I believe last year. The north end of this turf is now a landscape. We reduced the turf in this area as well. This is the existing turf. What you can't really see here, the turf is very thick, which means over the years it has accumulated its thickness, and it requires to be detached to break it down and restart from scratch. And that was the first job. We had to detach, take off most of it from the top, and break it down to just a bare dirt to be able to reseed. Here's a picture of the entrance, and the landscape I mentioned just a minute ago is right there in the north side of the turf. After we did that, we noticed this one location before the entrance, water was accumulating. It was puddling over here because it didn't have appropriate drainage. So we also located right across from that, there is a storm drain. With that, we wanted to connect the storm drain to this location. Our staff went in, trenched the hole, and we connected this little hole you see, which is closer to the Civic Auditorium's entrance. We put in a front drain here, channel connected it to the main storm drain. At this location, in the future, we should have less puddling, should be none, but if anything, we'll try and adjust it as well. And with that, we did seed and top dress all the areas within the perimeter. This is the driveway going in, and this is what it looks like now. We haven't mowed it yet. We need to allow for the seed to the grass itself to root further and strengthen before we start mowing again. And here's what it looks like currently. In this picture, you can see the drain right at that tip corner. I don't have a closer picture of it. And here it is, the entrance to the Civic Auditorium. The parking lot at the sports complex. This area over the years was overgrown by whether it be weeds and some dead shrubbery. This is one area where we limit the watering because we want to preserve water. Yet with that undergrowth, we had to go in with the staff and clear it all out, make it a lot more presentable than it was beforehand. So every parking slot adjacent to this area is now clean, and we do not have the overgrown shrubs and the weeds in this location. Over at Fremont Park, as we do annually with a lot of our parks, we had to take the playground, the fire bar, we had to refill it to make sure we make it safe. And there's a specific guideline by safety commissions to have a specific depth at the fall zones. And the fall zones are any area where a kid can play and fall off, whether it be the swings or the slides or a playable surface, which complication, getting down to 2 by 2 inches square foot is considered a playable surface. So our staff went in and put the fire bar distributed to all the fall zones, and this area was made safe again for our community, especially after we opened the playgrounds. We wanted to make sure we have that in all of our play areas. The playgrounds were safe. At Verdugo Park, this was part of our projects of adding mulch around around the trees, the mature sycamore trees. This is our growth. We've had questions from our commissioners about it. This is one of the tests we've done over the years to improve the health of our trees. This was mulch there before. As you can see, it does deteriorate. It is natural. It's intended to deteriorate. And the deterioration actually does help the health of the tree. With that, we came in and we installed new mulch at all of the trees around this location. And the health of the trees continue to improve, and they have been doing much better over the past couple of years with some of the actions we've taken to preserve their health and their longevity. Oh, and this is Armin's task of doing the panoramic shot of Verdugo Park. Very beautiful, and compliment the guys for finishing this job. At Palmer Park, as we noted in past months, we continue to make upgrades to Palmer Park. If you recall, last month we showed you the presentation of building that little concrete curb under the fence line to avoid weeds from going, and we had upgraded the irrigation around the perimeter, and with that, we now have it planted. This is the entrance to Palmer Park on the west side. As well as this location where we had removed the overgrowing vegetation, had changed the existing irrigation to pop-up irrigation, and there is the new landscape all lined and installed. We also had a small area on the back side of the skate park. This is what it looked like. It was always an issue for us because kids hang out here and certain activities do take place. But you also noticed the dirt, the way it was designed, the steps were only halfway done. So our crews went in, cleared the entire area, extended the steps all the way out. So now it is not only just steps, it's a seating area, it's a lot safer, and it is a lot nicer looking and clean for our community to be able to use, and it's safer for them as they continue the egress from the upper skate park area down to the basketball court area. And that is essentially the presentation for this month. If you have any questions, we'd love to address them for you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Just applauding. Let's see. Do we have any questions? No. Next item, please.
Next is 8E, Recreation and Community Services Section Monthly Activity Report for November 2020.
Good afternoon, President Kalfan, members of the Commission. My name is Seba Garabidian, Senior Community Services Supervisor with the Parks Department. And I'm going to try to be brief, just because we're getting later in the day. So once the presentation's up and running, we'll get started. So from our last commission meeting today, we haven't had any changes with any new openings for COVID. Everything is still the same. The last opening that we had, that we deployed, was the playgrounds and picnic tables and exercise equipment. So no new changes since our last meeting. We did have our trick-or-treat drive-through event on October 31st at Verdugo Park from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Our staff report that 800 vehicles participated in the event. The last vehicle rolled out around 9:45 p.m. Even though we shut down the event at 8, we just allowed for all the vehicles that were in line to go through. And at the math of 2 kids per vehicle, we basically passed out candy to about 1,600 kids. They were really happy, very appreciative of what the department did in having that event. Here's some pictures. This was Frank as soon as you were driving into the driveway. And then we had some community partners as well have some booths, which included Glendale Fire Department, Police Department, Verdugo Woodlands Dad's Club, Dave's Hot Chicken, Burrito Bomba, and Love You Latte, who also participated in the event by having a booth. And thank you to Jay's Maintenance, Swoon's Children's Boutique, and Muffin Can't Stop Us for donating candy as well. So I wanted to recognize them. Now that everybody's counted up to 270, we all know that the presidential elections are behind us. The Parks Department had a role in the elections. We provided some space at 4 of our parks to offer vote by mail ballot box drop-offs to the county. The parks included Dunsmore Park, Wilson Mini Park, Verdugo Park, and Pacific Community Center. In addition to that, the Civic Auditorium was used. The upper level of the Civic Auditorium was used by the county to do their poll worker training during the month of October. As polling centers were opening up, they were training their staff. And finally, Pacific Community Center was a 5-day in-person polling location from October 30th through November 3. Like I said, I'm just going through these pictures. As we discussed during our October Commission meeting, our recreation staff who are running the Education Connection program, starting in October, started to create some themes and activities for our kids that are in the program. So here you see some pictures of the kids decorating pumpkins, their costume contests, and some activities that were adapted to accommodate for distancing. Our virtual programs continue. Here are some pictures of our senior virtual programs during the month of October. In addition to the exercise classes that we're now offering practically 5 days a week, we are offering some virtual senior presentations. In October, they did the Project Lifesaver wristband project presentation, and then Wise and Healthy Aging presented a wellness presentation. Therapeutic Recreation continues their virtual programming in Club Maple and Get Fit. They continue to partner with Adventist Health and the Champions for Change and bringing some additional nutrition facts and guidance and healthy eating habits for our Club Maple and Get Fit population. Much the same with anything else virtual. Youth and Family Services, as John previously discussed, they're continuing their virtual workshops. And I wanted to highlight the one with all the American flag backgrounds. That's the how to become an ambulance operator and EMT presentation. It was 2 different presentations where Verdugo Fire Academy's enrollees or enlistees or those that are in the academy all requested to be a part of that program and participated. So that was very popular for that one night because of the topics. So depending on the topics, we do get a big turnout. This one was especially good and refreshing. When I first saw it, I'm like, I don't know if there's interest, but definitely they all proved me wrong. And then I also wanted to thank the Glendale Association of Realtors for their continued support in the STAR program and their recent donation to the program. Here you see a picture of them handing a check to John and Officer Alcopian, STAR's mentor from the police department. And this is when we allowed the kids to use the turf soccer field and have a movie night. After 7 months of not seeing each other, we celebrated Halloween. As you can see, they're maintaining their distance. They have their own pumpkins that they took home, and all of that was provided by Glendale Association of Realtors. Our Trails and Open Space programs continue, and all of their information is accessible via our GlendaleParksAtHome.org website. And basically, they've turned their programming, their presentations that they would have once a month, to videos that they're posting. So it's like a video library archive where people could go watch whenever they want at their will. And more videos are constantly being added each week. Our work days continue, however, they're limited to existing volunteers, so we haven't processed any new volunteers. So the volunteers that we had on file and in the system, those are the ones that we carry out our work days, whether it's at Duke-Majan Wilderness Park or at Glendale Narrows Riverwalk or the experimental forest up in the Verdugos. And finally, we ask our Ed Camp kids to do a craft that we would like to present to commission, and eventually we'll present to council. I have the craft here. It's basically a shadow box that I'm going to pass out, or if you're not joining us in person, we can make arrangements. Basically, we asked the kids what they're thankful for when it comes to Ed Camp program, and each of them wrote a word or two or a sentence briefly saying why they're thankful. Family, the program, new friends, an opportunity to go outside of their homes were basically the common responses. So in addition to the shadow boxes that we'll present to members of the commission and city council eventually, for those that are joining or coming to City Hall in person, they'll see the same style concept at the entrance to the stairway that lead up to council chambers as well. And that's a reminder that the program's operating and how thankful the kids are and their parents are for operating that program. And that concludes my presentation. I'll try to be brief if there's any questions.
Any questions? Any of the commissioners have questions? Otherwise, this meeting is adjourned, and we wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And I want to thank Commissioner Wilfredson for leading us all through this year, hard times. And Commissioner Grant left us, but I'm sure he'll be with us to help us anytime we need his help. And our meeting is in December decided, or do we have a meeting in December?
President Kalfai and members of the commission, as of now, we will have a meeting in December, the third Monday, but we'll notify you maybe a week, 2 weeks in advance. But as of now, we are going to have
December 21.
December?
Oh, the 26th.
December 21, most probably would be canceled then. My apologies. It's close to the holidays.
So you let us,
We'll
we'll be informed. Okay, this meeting is officially adjourned, and thank you for everyone.
Thank you.